Hi everyone, good morning and welcome all for the transfer pricing webinar for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Firstly, I welcome all of you in this and I expect that in the event of COVID pandemic, everyone is keeping safe and you and your all family members are all safe wherever you are. And thank you for joining for the event. There are few rules which I would like to display, and one of the rule is that you all are on the mute right now. If there are any questions, you can type on the question box and we will try to address at the end of the session. And if there are any chats or any questions in the end, possibly we'll try to cover at the end of the session. Yeah, I will like to hand over the mic to Mr. Zahid now, who will inaugurate the session. Thank you.
Good afternoon to the friends joining from the UAE and a very good morning to our friends and colleagues joining in from Saudi. Thank you all for joining today. And transfer pricing is nothing new. It's been going on for a number of years and globally it's a very hot topic. Now, why is it a hot topic for us in the region is because of the growing regulations around economic substance, around country by country reporting, and of course the varying taxes that are implemented. These all now require you friends to ensure that any transfer of goods and services between related party or even between your own internal departments are treated and measured separately. Now, what that means is you're going to be learning about that very much today. How can you define transfer pricing? What is transfer pricing? And more importantly, how can you avoid any issues or certain matters that may be an area of concern from the tax department in the countries you're operating? Of course, for our friends in KSA, there is taxation is nothing new. Zakat taxes have been implemented for many years. So all these additional robust measures by the authorities there is helping the government set up the environment to make sure that the reduced dependency on oil means greater business opportunities for you all. So that is, friends, and what we are doing. Of course, today we are very grateful to our learned colleagues, Roshab from the UAE, and more importantly, my brother Muhammad Al-Tilawi from CRO and KSA, which is a leading member of the CRO Global Network. CRO Global, as you know, is a top 10 network, and these are some of the brief facts and figures about our firm. What is important here is that we make sure that we work together seamlessly across borders so that your operations in the GCC region, in the Middle East, and in fact worldwide are taken care of, your filings are done on time, your transfer pricing issues are addressed, and more importantly, you're able to focus on what you do best, which is running your business. So leave the taxation matters and complexities to our experts here. And with that note, I'll hand back to my colleague Rushabh for the onward process. Thank you all, and once again, we appreciate your time today.
Sure, thank you. With this, I'll hand over the mic to Mr. Binit Shah, who will introduce the agenda for the topic and introduce the team as well, who will going to speak for the today's webinar session. So, Mr. Binit, over to you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar and your precious time providing for this learning sessions. So as Mr. Zaid has given the opening remarks, Mr. Zaid is a international liaison partner for the UAE, and myself, Binit Shah, basically I am handling the tax and technology part. That Rushabh Vora is overall, he is for the specialist in the transfer pricing for the MENA, Middle East and Africa region. So wherever you require any supports, and we are assisting to all partners in the Saudi and Middle East region. Mohammad Tilawi, he is a director and he's taking care of the Saudi transfer pricing audits and other things. Rushabh Vora will take a question and answer session later on. And Mr. Saad from Crow KSA, he is also international liaison partner. So this is a team for the UAE and KSA team. We work jointly on the transfer pricing. For any query related to transfer pricing, we always welcome your chat box, and your question answer is there. You can type over there. Yeah, over to Rushabh.
Yeah, thank you, Vinit sir, for the wonderful introduction and introducing everyone to us. And with this, I begin the session and introduce the transfer pricing topic and the BAPS framework. So let us start with what is transfer pricing and the BAPS framework. Just to begin with the few simple questions, the WH questions. What is transfer pricing? Why is there a need for the transfer pricing? When do these provisions originate and how does it work? So the transfer pricing is basically the intra-group pricing, wherein the one related party having a transaction with another related party, and what would be the pricing for those related party transactions is termed as a transfer pricing analysis in the layman's term. And why is there a need? So that is a particular important question. So you must be aware, after a globalization, there were lot many cross-border transactions increased between the related party, and few of the related party and few of the MNCs especially took the benefit of them by entering into a related party, especially the cross-border transactions, wherein they could shift the profitability from high tax jurisdiction country to a low tax jurisdiction country, and uh, thereby having a significant saving in their overall taxability. To avoid this kind of illegal practice, uh, transfer pricing topic has been introduced, and the need has been felt to have a proper mechanism to control a cross-border transfer pricing analysis and cross-border related party transactions. So the next question would be, when do these provisions originate? So especially the importance of the topic felt after the Second World War, wherein most of the countries were struggling with their economies and cross-border transactions started increasing. So after that, the actual need for the transfer pricing introduction has been felt by OECD countries and the European Union countries. Thereby, in the late 1950s and 60s, OECD introduced a basic transfer pricing concepts, and the developed countries like USA and few European countries started introducing this concept in their domestic regulations. In the Middle East specifically, while the concept of arm's length price, that is a fair market value price, is present since a couple of decades, but the formal introduction of the transfer pricing provisions arises in KSA only in the 2018. And how does it work? So we'll cover that topic, how does it work, in the next example slide, in the coming slides. Yeah. So like I mentioned, the transfer pricing by the definition is the pricing between the control transactions between the related party, and those related party transactions needs to comply with the arm's length principle, so that whenever there is a transfer of physical goods or intangible property or the services between related party, those prices would be termed as a transfer pricing as per the layman's terms and as per the OECD. So just to understand the topic more in detail, we have covered here one of the example. If you can see, there are a couple of situation here, situation 1 on the left hand side and situation 2 on the right hand side. In the situation 1, entity A situated in country A, and there is another entity B situated in country B. Assuming that both the entity A and entity B are related parties to each other, uh, one of the transactions is entity A is selling goods at 1000 USD to entity B. That is the only related party transaction here, is the sale of goods between entity A and entity B. If you can see in the situation 1, by selling goods at 1000, entity A in the country A is making a profit of 100 and thereby paying a tax of 20 by applying a tax rate of 20%. Afterwards, country B, who has purchased goods at 1000 and distributing those goods to end customer at 1350, thereby making the end profit of 50 and paying a tax rate of 5 by applying a tax rate of 10%. So in the situation 1, overall as a group, consolidated tax would be 20 plus 5, 25. Now let us assume that because of the transfer pricing provisions, the scenario would completely different in case the pricing of the related party transactions here, which is the sale of goods, would differ. So in the situation 2, we have only changed the sale price of transactions from entity A to entity B would be 910. Thereby, entity A would be paying a tax of only 2 in country A, applying a tax rate of 20%, and entity B would be in turn paying a tax of 14, applying a tax rate of 10%. If you can see, overall profitability of the group will remain constant in both the situation, that is 150 profitability in situation 1 as well as in situation 2. However, the consolidated tax would reduce from 25 to 16 in the situation 2 by applying the pricing methodology or pricing concept of the transfer pricing, wherein the related party price has been deferred here and the end result of consolidated tax may go change. So that's how the mechanism of the transfer pricing works here. And with this example, I would understand that the concept would be clear. Let us have a discussion on the base erosion and profit shifting approach of OECD. So you must have heard this term before, base erosion and profit shifting, quite a well-renowned term since last 5 to 7 years. So Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, that is OECD, have introduced base erosion and profit shifting project somewhere in 2012. After the analysis and the research shows that overall the worldwide jurisdictions, all the country together, loses 4 to 5% of the total tax revenue every year because of the profit shifting and the base erosion. And thereby the OECD felt a need to introduce a mass project, that is BEPS project, in 2012. And at the end of 2015, it has introduced the 15 action points to improve the tax transparency and coherency principles amongst the member countries. After 2015, OECD started or mandated all the members to start implementing all the action points, especially after 2016. And it has mandated to apply and to implement at least 4 minimum action plans, which are Action Plan 5, harmful tax practices, Action Plan 6, prevention of treaty abuse, Action Plan 13, country by country reporting, which pertains to transfer pricing, and Action Plan 14, which is a mutual agreement process. So these 4 action plans are the minimum requirement for any member country to implement BEPS action plans. And if you can see, Action Plan 13, country by country reporting, pertains to transfer pricing, and thereby importance of transfer pricing has gained a lot of attention after the introduction of BEPS project. Coming to KSA, KSA is one of the party to the G20 country which has assisted OECD and involved in the BEPS inclusion framework project from the initial days. So KSA has also joined and signed a multilateral agreement for CBCR in August 2019. So from 2019 onwards, even KSA has introduced CBC regulation and the transfer pricing regulations, which we will cover in the next slides. So I hope the basic idea or the thoughts behind introduction of transfer pricing topic and why it is important that we have covered. Now let us come to the point on the transfer pricing landscape in KSA. This is a timeline especially for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the transfer pricing side. So if you can see from 2004 onwards, wherein the amended income tax law introduced arm's length principle in KSA. So the transfer pricing is not new per se in KSA, but the basic fundamental principle of arm's length exists since 2004. While there was no formal regulation in KSA up to 2019, but the introduction of arm's length principle was made way before in 2004. Afterwards, in February 2019, KSA has introduced the transfer pricing bylaws and it has published a detailed regulation for the transfer pricing regulations. In March 2019, KSA has also introduced the first guidelines to support the bylaws, and the guidelines is quite comprehensive to cover all the aspects in detail to provide the guidelines on each and every definition and the aspects covered in the bylaws. That really helps all the taxpayers to understand what is the applicability from KSA perspective and how the principle should be applied. In KSA tax authorities, that is GAZT, is quite active, and in May 2020 it has also updated the guidelines published in March 2019, and in May 2020 it has updated its second edition of the guidelines, and at the end of 2020 right now we have the updated guidelines now. Let us come to the important concepts of transfer pricing in KSA. It is important to understand the key concepts before going into the methodology and the compliance requirement. First and foremost important concept is the related person. Who would be the related persons covered under the bylaws of the transfer pricing of KSA, and to whom, if we have entered into any particular transactions, that would be considered as a related person. KSA bylaws has specifically emphasized on the ownership and effective control mechanism to establish the relationship of related person. If you can see on my left hand side of the slide, on the ownership criteria, it can be either the direct ownership or it can be the common ownership. In the direct ownership, if one person is having a 50% or more voting rights or shares or the ownership in another person, either directly or indirectly, those direct relationship between another person would be covered as a related person. At the same time, if two persons are owned by the same person, for example, Mr. Entity A and Entity B is owned by the common person Entity C, and more than 50% ownership is controlled by Entity C, in that case Entity A and Entity B would also become a related person. So ownership criteria applies either on the direct side or on the common controlling side, wherein if there are any common control by one person or by a joint person either directly or indirectly, those all persons would be considered as a related persons from the ownership criteria. At the same time, KSA has also introduced the concept of effective control and the de facto control by way of three parameters. One of the parameters is effective control via governance, effective control via funding, and effective control via business. So let us understand what are these criteria. From the effective control, from governance perspective, if a person is providing a management services for the another person or the another entity in order to control the business decisions, those two persons would be considered as a related persons, and that would be covered under the scope of transfer pricing. At the same time, similarly, if one person is acting as a trusteeship for the another person, or at the same time if one person is having a control to appoint or remove the director of more than 50% of the board of directors of another entity or another person, those all persons would be considered as a related persons through governance. So these are the parameters or the conditions to establish the relationship via governance criteria. Now let us understand what are the criteria and the parameters to establish control via funding. If one person is having a right to receive either 50% or more of share in the profit of the another person, that would be considered as having effective control in another person, and thereby the relationship between related persons establishes. At the same time, if the one person has provided a loan which is equivalent to 50% or more of total debts of the borrower in another person, or a person has guaranteed the 25% or more borrowings of the another person, those two persons would be considered as the related persons of each other. Now let us understand the idea behind applying these thresholds or applying these conditions. If those persons are, if one person is giving a loan or a guarantee which is equivalent to a substantial aspect of the borrowing aspect of another person, it can be said that the business decisions of the another persons would be effectively controlled by the first persons, and thereby the transactions and the dealings between them are tainted, and therefore the persons would be considered as a related persons, and therefore the transfer pricing provisions would be applicable to those dealings and those related persons. Now the third and the last conditions from the effective control perspective is the business conditions, wherein if the one person is having a control of more than 50% business activity of the another person, that would be considered as a related person. So while the coverage is quite comprehensive and wide, we need to actually understand what these criteria would be applicable to a particular fact pattern, and by applying a fact pattern and the principles of this related persons definition, we need to understand whether the transfer pricing regulations would be applicable or no. But in a nutshell, if there are effective ownership and the control in by one person or another person, those two persons would be considered as a related persons of each other, and thereby the transfer pricing regulations will get covered. Few another important concept, arm's length price. I think this is a well recognized concept in the transfer pricing regime. The arm's length price uh, is a price between an independent persons operating under the same or the similar circumstances. In a layman's term, arm's length price is a fair market value, any price that would have been undertaken had it been the transactions between unrelated party or independent persons. So the third party price or the fair market value price are synonyms to the arm's length price, but from the technical perspective, the arm's length price is between the price between independent persons that needs to be applied between related persons transactions. At the same time, what would be the control transactions covered under the transfer pricing? So the control transactions are any transactions between related persons, either domestic or international related persons transactions. So KSA has already expanded its scope to cover even the domestic related persons transactions within the ambit of transfer pricing regulations. Unlike few other developing countries which generally emphasize on only the cross-border or the international related party transactions to apply the transfer pricing provisions, KSA has went ahead one step and applied the domestic related party transaction as well, in order to understand whether those transactions are at arm's length or no. These are few of the control transactions which can get covered under the ambit of the transfer pricing regulations. Uh, like you see, the coverage is quite wide. It can be any control transaction or any transaction, be it transactions relating to the tangible property, transactions relating to intangible property, capital financing, the provision of services, or the business restructuring. So any type of transactions between the related persons will get covered under the transfer pricing regime of KSA, and that needs to be demonstrated whether the transaction is entered at arm's length price or a fair market value price or no. Let us understand what is the scope of KSA transfer pricing bylaws now. As you see, KSA transfer pricing bylaws are applicable to all the persons who are subject to corporate income tax in KSA, whether those persons could be 100% taxpayer entity or it could be a mixed taxpayer entity. That means a mixed payer entity is an entity which is owned jointly by the zakat payer entity as well as income taxpayer entity. So in that aspect, to the extent of the percentage of mixed taxpayer which is controlled by the income tax owner of the mixed taxpayer, the principle of transfer pricing provisions would be applicable. In addition to that, the transfer pricing provisions are also applicable to zakat payer entity only with respect to CBC compliance of the transfer pricing, that is the country by country report compliance. Other compliances relating to the master file or the local file are not applicable to the zakat payers. We'll come to that in detail, what are the implications to zakat payers, etc. in the coming slides. At the same time, bylaws has also provided certain exceptions, and one of the exceptions is it has removed the natural persons from the scope of the transfer pricing bylaws. And at the same time, the control transactions having a less than Saudi riyals 6 million transactions within a year are exempt from providing local file and master file regulations. However, they need to comply with the arm's length principle as well as the country by country report regulations. So in order to provide a relaxation to the small enterprise, this relaxation of threshold of control transactions has been implemented and provided in the transfer pricing bylaws. Just to summarize the coverage and the exceptions of the transfer pricing bylaws, I have prepared this particular slide wherein if you can see the persons who are 100% corporate income tax payers to whom all the transfer pricing bylaws, RPT disclosure form, the local file, the master file, and the CBC regulations would be applicable. At the same time, if the mixed taxpayer, like I just mentioned, the mixed taxpayer who are jointly owned by the zakat payer entity as well as corporate income taxpayer entity, to mixed taxpayers, all the regulations of bylaws, the disclosure form, the local file, master file, and the CBCR would be applicable. However, in the first two columns, that is 100% taxpayer or the mixed taxpayer, if the related party transactions or the control transactions are less than Saudi riyals 6 million during the year under consideration, in that case, local file and master file may not be applicable to them, though it is recommended them to prepare those documents so that if there are any questions or the queries in future from the GSRT, those documents can be submitted. Though there is no formal requirement for the local file and master file preparation for those entities having a below threshold control transactions, but it is recommended for them to prepare those documentation. In addition to that, the 100% zakat payer, like I just mentioned, to 100% zakat payer, the provisions of local file, master file, and the RPT disclosure form is not applicable to them. However, the provisions relating to the country by country report regulations and the bylaws provisions, which is the arm's length principle as a whole, would be applicable to them. So in general, any dealings between the related persons of the zakat payer would also need to be comply with the arm's length principle, though there is no formal requirement to prepare local file and master file. And the natural person at the end, like I just mentioned, relaxation has been given to the natural person in order from the transfer pricing regulation of KSA. Now the transfer pricing methodology, the very important concepts. The methodology of the transfer pricing in a way helps us or assists us to understand whether a particular transaction between related party has been entered at the arm's length price or no. So there are few methods which has been prescribed by KSA TP bylaws. Particularly, there are 5 methodology which has been prescribed, and at the end, the last residual methodology, which is other method, has been prescribed. Let us quickly understand what are this methodology and in what scenario this methodology would be applicable. While this itself is a huge concept and it might take maybe a couple of hours session to understand all the methodology in detail, right now we can cover the methodology concept in brief. So there are few traditional methodology as per the KSA which has been particularly applied to understand or to benchmark a related party transactions. This could be the comparable uncontrolled price method, resale price method, and a cost plus method. The first comparable uncontrolled price method, well known as CUP method, is the most preferred method to benchmark a particular related party transactions. Here, the underlying principle is to compare the prices, as the method denotes comparable uncontrolled price. The underlying price between related party transactions needs to be compared with the third party pricing in order to understand whether the related party pricing is in line with the unrelated party or third party transactions or no. So basic principle is to compare the pricing of the related party as well as unrelated party pricing. However, the comparable uncontrolled price method requires a strict comparability. So therefore, all the product size, color, characteristics of the particular product needs to be understand, or needs to be a strict comparability principle needs to be applied in order to compare the prices. Because if there are any differences in the prices or in the characteristics of the product, the prices may vary between the related party and unrelated party, and therefore this method, in order to apply this particular methodology, strict comparability needs to be applied. The second method is the resale price method. It is mainly applicable for the distribution model or the trader kind of transactions, wherein a person who has purchased goods from the related party and thereafter reselling those goods without any value addition to the third party. In that case, whatever the gross profitability earned by a person by selling goods to a third party related party transactions needs to be compared to understand what is the gross profitability in a third party scenario. So the underlying comparison is the gross profitability in the resale price method, wherein after distributing the goods, what is the profitability earned at the gross level needs to understand whether it is at complying with the third party principles or no. Third methodology is the cost plus methodology, wherein if there are any provision of services or the goods wherein a proper markup has been applied on the cost base of a particular goods or services, and after applying a markup, a particular provision of services or the goods has been sold or services has been provided to a related party. In order to understand what is a particular markup on that particular goods or services, we need to understand what is the cost base of a particular goods and services and what is the markup charged on that particular goods. And thereafter, this markup needs to be compared with a third party markup to understand whether a particular pricing is at arm's length or no. These are the traditional methods and generally preferred over the profit-based methods by the tax authorities. However, the comparability is strict in a sense, and onus is on the taxpayers to prove the comparability analysis. Now, there are certain profit-based methodology. One of the methodology is the profit split method. A profit split method is a quite complex and a much detailed manner analysis, wherein generally a group having a transactions of the intangible property, wherein one or more than one party come together as a joint exercise to develop a particular intangible property and thereafter to sell this particular property, and what would be the joint profitability from a whole transactions needs to be analyzed as a holistically. So the ultimate profitability needs to be splitted between all the related persons in the ratio of their efforts or the contributions. So like I mentioned, this is a complex analysis and a person needs to have a lot many robust documentation to understand what is the contribution and what is the value addition by all the related persons together to develop a particular IP or in the joint exercise. Next method is the transactional net margin method. The transactional net margin method is basically a net profitability earned after providing services or the goods to related persons. In order to understand what is the ultimate profitability a person has earned and whether that profitability is sufficient enough after providing that product or the services, we need to compare it with the third party analysis by benchmarking or undertaking a search on the licensed database which are available globally. We need to take the access for that, and the transactional net margin method may be applicable in that case. Most of the taxpayers generally apply the transactional net margin method in most of the transactions just because the simply or the simple application of its principle. And at the end, the one more other method has been prescribed by the KSA transfer pricing bylaws, wherein if the other methodology, all the 5 above methodologies do not apply given a particular fact pattern of the case, in that case, at the end, other method may be applicable. And however, the person needs to demonstrate as to why other methodologies are not applicable. So this is a summary at the end of the methodology. Like I mentioned, the comparable uncontrolled price method generally requires the higher or a strict comparability to apply a particular methodology, and wherein the underlying comparison would be the pricing of the related party transaction as well as unrelated party transactions. This is typically applicable for the commodity or the intangible transactions or the intragroup loan transactions between related parties. At the end, related person or resale price method, wherein again the functional comparability needs to be higher and the gross profitability margin needs to be compared with the unrelated party profitability, and typically it is applicable for the distribution arrangement or the trading arrangements between related party. Cost plus method, again similar to the resale price method, the underlying principle of comparison would be the gross profitability, and that needs to be applied in a stricter sense. Profit split method, there is no comparability criteria here. Here the ultimate profitability earned from the whole transactions needs to be splitted between the related persons in a joint exercise basis the contribution and basis the value addition made by each related persons in the particular transactions. And the transactional net margin method, wherein the functional comparability of a product or services may be medium. uh, However, the ultimate comparison would be of the operating profitability or the net profitability of the end results, and typically it is applicable for the purchase or sale of goods or the provision of service transactions. Now let us come to what are the TP compliance requirement in KSA. These are a typical compliance requirement in KSA, wherein the 3-tier documentation has been adopted by KSA, which are country by country reporting, master file, local file, and at the end, uh, along with the taxpayer's tax return, form number CTDF needs to be filed in order to provide the related party disclosures. This form also needs to be affidavit needs to be provided by a chartered accountant in order to justify or in order to certify that related party transactions has been applied at the arm's length analysis. So country by country reporting, master file and the local file, the 3-tier documentation, which is generally been applied by more than 100 countries now in some or other format, has already been applied by KSA. And let us understand what are the threshold or what are the criteria and what are the contents of this documentation analysis. So we'll cover that in the next slides. Let us begin with the local file analysis. So local file is applicable to any legal persons having a control transactions, be it a domestic or a international control transactions, and having a threshold of more than SAR 6 million during the year. Only in that case the local file would be applicable. The submission is only be made upon the request from the GSZT, and it is generally 30 days are provided in order to submit a local file documentation. While before submitting the form number CTDF, local file should be need to be prepared or maintained. However, it needs to be submitted before the authority only once the request has been made by the tax authorities. Contents of the local file are mainly entity related information, pricing related information, transaction related information, or the supporting documents. It could be like entity related, a corporate background, a profile of the related party, industry overview, the pricing related aspects of the intragroup pricing, what are the nature of the transactions, the functional analysis and the economic analysis to apply the principle of the TP methodology, the transactions related agreements, the invoices, all these form a part of the local file, and this needs to be maintained while preparing the local file documentation. These are quite comprehensive and it is generally relating to the particular entity and a particular related party transactions, unlike master file and CBCR, which are group level documentation. Local file is only a particular entity level transaction, entity level documentation, and only covers transactions between related persons of the particular entity. Let us come to the master file. Again, the applicability principles and the thresholds are something similar to the local file, which is any legal persons having a control transactions more than SAR 6 million needs to prepare a master file documentation. Similar to local file, master file also needs to be submitted only after request from the tax authority of KSA, and generally they provide 30 days time to submit the documentation. Contents of the master file are quite comprehensive, and the group level information needs to be prepared under the master file documentation, which could be the business level information, intangible level information, intra-group financing level information, or the financial and tax position related information. If you see broadly the information of the businesses, all the operating entities of the worldwide group, key drivers of the profitability, revenue generating geographical market, or the business restructuring related parameters needs to form part of the master file. Again, the intangible perspective, especially all the MNCs have a lots of intangible, either a technical intangible or a marketing intangible. All the pricing policies of intangibles, what are the transfers during the year between the related persons, who is having a control of the intangibles, who is developing, who is exploiting, all those needs to form part of master file. At the same time, the intragroup financing, a much recognized concept and gained attentions in last few years. Any intragroup financing, be it a loan or a guarantee or a borrowing, needs to form part of the master file. What would be the transfer pricing policies? What are the arm's length analysis? That needs to be documented along with the other aspects. And at the end, consolidated financial statement of the MNC entity needs to be submitted as a part of the master file documentation. If any entity of the group has undertaken advance pricing agreement or any tax ruling in order to allocate the income or apply transfer pricing principles, those rulings also needs to be briefly covered as a part of the master file. So in a nutshell, master file is a blue chip of the group level information, providing information of the transfer pricing policies of all the intra-group transactions. And this documentation needs to be submitted with the authority, and KSA may also exchange the master file documentation with other authority with whom the active relationship of the exchange is already at present active. The third documentation is the country by country reporting. It is applicable only to multinational group and having a presence in KSA. It can be headquartered in KSA or a MNC group headquartered outside KSA but having a presence in KSA as a part of subsidiary or a permanent establishment. In those cases, the country by country reporting applicability would arise. Threshold has been provided, and it has been kept at something similar to the threshold prescribed by the OECD and other developed and developing countries in order to apply the principles at the same level. So the threshold is, if the consolidated group turnover of the multinational group is equal to or more than SAR 3.2 billion, in that case the CBC report needs to be prepared and submitted. There are twofold compliance requirement. First is the notification, which needs to be submitted within 120 days of the fiscal year, along with the tax return, as well as on the AEOI portal, which is a portal introduced by the KSA Tax Authority. That is a simple notification form wherein a KSA entity of the foreign multinational group needs to submit who is the ultimate parent entity of the group and where the CBC report of the group, in which country it has been filed. At the same time, if the entity is a KSA headquartered entity and the threshold applies, it has to also file a detailed CBC report within 12 months from the end of the financial year. So the December 2020 financial year ending, CBC report needs to be submitted by December 2021. The contents of CBC report are quite detailed, and statistical information needs to be submitted, wherein in the part A, all the statistical information relating to the tangible assets, revenues, profit or loss, income tax paid or payable, number of employees needs to be provided. And in the part B, all the list of the constituent entities of the multinational groups and the activities carried over by all the entity. It can be a R&D activity, a purchase or procurement activity, manufacturing or sale activity, financial service activity, whether it is a dormant entity or no. We need to just provide a tick mark, what would be the activity of the particular constituent entity and where is the country of residence and incorporation of that particular MNC entity. So this is a blueprint wherein one can get a whole idea where is the profitability of a particular group, situated, where are the number of employees of the group are situated, and where is the contribution and the end results of the activity are happening. So by looking at the CBC report, one can easily identify if there are any uh, uh, shifting of profit from low or high jurisdiction and country to a low jurisdiction country. Form number CTDF, the last compliance requirement of KSA, is a RPT disclosure form which needs to be filed along with the tax return. So it is applicable to all the legal persons having a controlled or domestic or international control transactions. Surprisingly, there is no threshold prescribed. So even if there is a single Saudi Riyal transaction between the related persons, this form needs to be filed. So no threshold has been prescribed, and any related party transactions needs to be submitted along with the tax return. The timeline is 120 days from the end of the year, which is generally for the December 2020. It would be 29th April of 2021 would be the timeline. The contents of the form are quite simpler, though it looks simpler, but in order to provide information, a detailed analysis needs to be undertaken. The information could be the related party details, the nature of related party transactions and the amount of the transactions. The transfer pricing methodology needs to be applied to understand whether a particular transaction is at arm's length or no. So we need to provide a details of which methodology, either the traditional methodology or the profit split methodology, has been applied to benchmark a particular related party transactions. Whether the local file and the master file has been maintained or no, this declaration also needs to be provided. The information relating to business restructuring needs to be provided. Free of cost goods and the non-monetary transactions also required to be reported as a part of the form. And along with that, the CBC information, like I just mentioned, needs to be filed as a part of the form number CTDF and as a part of the tax return information. This is at the end a summarized compliance requirement in KSA, wherein the local file, master file are applicable having a control transactions more than SAR 6 million during the year. At the same time, CBC notification and reporting is applicable only if the threshold is crossing SAR 3.2 billion during the year. At the end, form number CTDF, there is no threshold prescribed. The due date, like I just mentioned, for the December 2020, local file and master file needs to be maintained by 29th April. However, it needs to be submitted only after request from the tax authority. At the same time, CBC notification needs to be filed by 29th April, but the report needs to be submitted by end of 31st December 2021 for the year ending 31st December 2020. And the form CTDF needs to be submitted along with the tax return, which is due in just a month away, which is 29th April 2021. This is the compliance timeline we just discussed right now, so I'm skipping this slide right now. Overview and FAR and comparability analysis. So this itself is a detailed topic and requires a detailed session, but just to give a glimpse, what is the FAR analysis in the local file documentation, which is a functional analysis, I would say, which is the heart of the documentation. This covers all the details of the functions performed by the related persons, the risk assumed, and the assets employed. All this analysis needs to be documented as a part of the local file documentation, and this is important to understand who is the simpler entity, which entity is undertaking the complex transactions, or which entity is having a value creation transactions. And this is a base for the comparability. In order to understand or to apply the transfer pricing methodology, first of all, a FAR analysis needs to be undertaken, thereafter to apply a comparability analysis. Economic analysis. After the FAR analysis, the economic analysis needs to be undertaken to understand a particular related party transactions is comparable with the another transactions. So just a simple example here, a few cell phones have been tabularized here and the picturized here. Apple cell phone, Samsung, Nokia and BlackBerry. While the basic feature of speaking and or taking the call is something similar, but all these cell phones have a different features to each other. Like the Apple consists of the higher or the premium brand value, Samsung have a smart features, BlackBerry has the QWERTY features, or the Nokia have a simplest of the features. So as such, all these cell phones have a different features to each other. The pricing may vary, depend on the features of the cell phones, depend on the brand value of the cell phones, and therefore these are not comparable with each other. So the basic fundamental principle here is in order to compare a particular goods or services between related persons, needs to be seen whether the third party product or the services is comparable or no. And if there are any deviations, a comparable adjustment needs to be made in order to perform the economic analysis. Typical process of the economic analysis is, like I just mentioned, to begin the economic analysis, it is important to have a functional analysis. Thereafter, we can select the transfer pricing methodology. We need to understand the benchmarking search on the licensed database to identify the similar comparability. These are quite costly, and the database, and it needs to be only the experienced needs to be there to handle those databases to derive the end results. Thereafter, a quantitative and a qualitative screening may be made to understand which are the potential comparables at the end, and the potential comparable at the end needs to be compared with the profitability or the pricing results of the related party transactions. The whole economic analysis process, the thought behind is to compare the process or to compare the profitability of the related party transactions with the unrelated party transactions. And the typical transfer pricing process, just to summarize, to the bottom, first of all, the fact gathering exercise needs to be done to understand what are the controlled transactions, which is the industry in which the taxpayer operates, what are the functional analysis, and thereafter the economic analysis. And at the end, the whole analysis needs to be documented thoroughly in the TP documentation, and form number CTDF needs to be filed. A quick case study here for the inbound scenario, wherein the USA parent entity having a subsidiary in KSA, which is a manufacturing entity, and at the end, KSA entity is selling goods to third-party entities. So USA is selling goods to selling raw materials to KSA entity. KSA entity is producing these goods and the final products, and thereafter selling it to the third-party customers. KSA entity is incurring losses in the books, and ultimately also paying a royalty and a management fees to its parent entity. So the issue arises here. There are many issues from the transfer pricing side. First of all, the tax authority will question the losses of the KSA entity, how to demonstrate the losses, how to justify the payment of high royalty and management fees. All those needs to be understood in detail to understand what are the transfer pricing issues and what steps needs to be undertaken. Similar to this, in the outbound scenario, there is a KSA entity, which is a parent entity having a UAE distributor entity. So KSA entity is selling goods to UAE entity, and UAE entity in turn selling goods to third party entity. At the same time, KSA entity is providing free of cost, such as IT, admin, HR, being a parent entity, to UAE entity. So many issues arises here, and one of the eye-catching issue is free of cost transactions, and the transactions with the UAE entity. Like UAE is a no tax jurisdictions. It is eye-catching, and generally tax authority goes in detail to scrutinize those transactions. So we need to understand these scenarios and the implications behind those issues, and how to tackle those issues it is quite important. With this, I hand over the mic to Mr. Tilavi, who would share insights, practical challenges on the transfer pricing audit in KSA, and we would love to hear from Mr. Tilavi on the practical challenges. Mr. Tilavi, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for this information and valuable details regarding the transfer price. As you all know that the Gazette now, it's very active with the taxes issues, and there's a lot of taxes now in Saudi. It's not like before, so that we need to prepare ourselves before the Gazette come and make the review. And the transfer price, it's one of the major hot topics that you need to prepare yourself for this documentation and the deliverables that needed from the tax, the transfer price, as mentioned by Roshba. The technical or the practical transfer price issues that will highlight or raise red flags that we need to take care about. This is part of these red flags. One of these flags, it's a loss-making taxpayer. This is we need to highlight why there's a losses generated in Saudi Arabia. So we are talking about the tax regions. If there's a tax region, there's a lower tax region, and there's a higher tax region. So that we need to take care why there's a losses. It's these losses generated from the transaction with the controlled the parties, so that we are transferring the profit from one tax region to another tax region in order to reduce the tax or not. So we need to have a valid reason and objective reason why there's losses generated in Saudi. The other thing, it's an intra-group management fees and royalty. This is that we are talking about expenses. It will be recorded in Saudi, and profit it will be recorded in another tax region. So that it's a type of transferring the profit from one region to another region. So we recommend the companies to have a documented contract between both parties that describes the fees and the royalty and the details of these fees and royalty in order to cover themselves in front of the Gazette when they come to review, and the basis of calculating these fees and why they are calculating these fees based on the 5 types for transfer price in order to compare it with the third party. Another practical issue is a transaction with low or no tax country. This is, it will raise a red flag why the company have a transaction with no tax country or low country, so that this is an indication that the company is moving or transferring the profit to another country. So you have to have a good reason, and you can say it's a matter of telling a story. If you are telling the story in the proper way and you have a valid reason and justification and evidence for these transactions, so that you will cover yourself for the fees or the transaction with this related party. Also, for the foreign related party, tested party, why you are dealing with a foreign party, not with a local party. So you have to find a justification. Sometimes you have the techniques and know-how with the foreign company, not from the local company, so that if you can justify this and support this in the local file and master file documentation, so that it will be cover yourself. And also for the inter-group financing, is there any type of financing between foreign company and Saudi company? And sometimes it will be with no tax or with no interest, and sometimes it will be with a high interest comparing with the local interest rate. If you take the loan from a bank or a local company, it will be lower interest, so that it will reduce the expenses, so that it will be generate profit, you will pay more tax. So why you are going to another company in order to move the profit from one company to another company? Also, research and development activities. If the company do the research and development activities, yes, it will be acceptable, but you have to find a justification why you are doing research and development, comparing with the future benefits. And if you're going to open a new department or have a new activity, so that it will be covered the research and development, and justify why you are paying these research and development activities, and it's not paying these research and development activities on behalf of another company, so that you are recording the expenses and the revenue, it will be recorded with another company. Also, for the profit split, permanent establishment, if you have an establishment inside Saudi and another company outside, so that you are splitting the profit between the two companies, so you have to have a valid reason and evidence for this, and also for the exchange of information. At the end, as a summary or a brief, it's very important for you to plan yourself and to prepare yourself before the gazette come, because there's no time. If they request you to submit the local file and master file, it will be 30 days. So 30 days, it's not enough to prepare the file, local file and the master file. So that we are recommending the company to do the tax planning from the beginning of the year or before the year start, because if you are dealing inside during the year, so that the transaction, it will be recorded and the financial statement, it will be finished, so that you cannot do anything regarding the transfer price. So in order to plan yourself, you have to plan the tax before starting of the transaction, so that we can support the companies and support the clients how to do the tax planning, and what's the best way to do the transaction with the related party, and how to cover yourself, and how to have an evidence and the proper documentation once the gazette come. So this is our recommendation for the company, and we are here to support the clients. And in addition to Crow Dubai, many thanks for them for their support, and anytime we are available.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tilawi, and quite an insightful session on the practical side of the KSA transfer pricing. And like, yeah, you mentioned all these points would be important to understand what are the issues, and the KSA authority is also quite aggressive for the scrutinizing the transfer pricing cases. So it is recommended to everyone to have a robust documentation analysis in place. So just to cover the just to conclude the sessions, we have just completed the times as well. Just a way forward exercise would be and a suggestion to everyone would be to understand the applicability of the regulations, keep the intent of the regulation in mind, and examine the facts. Identify if there are any gaps or the potential challenges in your fact pattern. Implement or all the documentation part, or realign contracts and the conducts, and at the end duly comply with the transfer pricing requirement in the KSA. And at the end, I would say the document would be the key to demonstrate your related party transfer pricing analysis to the authorities and to mitigate your risk. With this, I hand over the mic to Mr. Saad to to have a closing session on the this webinar session. Yeah, Mr. Saad, over to you.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Saad.
Very well. Well, first, I would like to thank my colleagues, Mr. Vora and Mr. Tilawi, for this valuable information they have presented. And thank you all for attending this brief webinar. I'd like to say that Gazette has been very active since the beginning of transfer price implementation. When they started, they treated as an audit year. So they started inquiries and audit from the beginning. They didn't treat it like a test period or anything. So this is very serious. And with the recent, I have to say, integration of all government systems and financial systems in Saudi, they have the data and the capability to go back in time and monitor all bank transactions and use it in analyzing all financial transactions between the companies. And we have seen many cases where they do that. It's true that some Saudi taxpayers and foreign companies have been acted swiftly and implemented all transfer policies and reviewed all their policies and procedures. And they acted very fast, but others, many didn't do anything so far, as we know, and we still receive inquiries in Saudi. We would like all the clients to take this matter very seriously, because implementing or not paying attention and reviewing and understanding the new regulation will have implications on their income and their tax payments. And once you do that, you cannot reverse it. So you have to be very active because this is all linked to all other policies like VAT and income tax and others before certain transactions can be reversed or moved. And there's many transactions that the company used to use, but now it's very hard to implement them. So we advise all clients to urgently act on this. Our team of local experts with Crow worldwide. Also, we are very happy to assist our taxpayers with all their needs. And we really ask them to take it seriously. We have moved from very light tax country to a heavily taxed country. And all these rules and regulations will affect all their operations and profits. With that, I would like to thank you all for attending and hope you found this webinar very useful and informative. Please feel free to call us and we are ready to extend our help. Thank you again.
Thank you,
to you,
everyone.
Warren. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. And we'll reach out to you separately for the question answers, and do reach out to us if you have any queries. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.